Hello.
Hi, Rebecca, it's Beatrice.
Hi, Beatrice. It's Rebecca. How are you?
I'm well, just a bit just tired generally and tired of the cold.
Well, yes.
Hmm.
It's that point in the year.
Yes, I know.
I don't think February is a good month
No, no.
for energy levels.
Hmm.
I really, I just think it's too much.
Yeah.
We should have a gap in February. You know, like how in like sort of 20s, 30s Vogues, in February everybody just takes to their beds, it seems.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
That they just like they have their skiing season post
Hmm.
Christmas and then they go to bed and their maids, which I don't agree with maids, so that would be a thing that would be a difficulty, but they just they just focus on skincare, nails, hair
Hmm.
until they're revived for the spring season.
Yeah, that sounds good.
That sounds like the level of activity we could
Yeah,
cope with,
maybe
really.
next week I can do that.
Yes.
Hmm.
And also get a beautiful bed jacket.
Yes, that's a good
I mean, I
idea.
wonder if those things even exist as things anymore.
I'm not sure actually. I haven't seen one, but then I haven't looked for one.
Well, I haven't, but I think of them as something elderly ladies wore 50 years ago.
Yeah,
But clearly there was a point where they were very chic and lovely.
yeah. We have a
So we'll
really
have to...
nice one. We have
Oh, do
we
you?
have quite a few. We have sort of 18th century ones, but we also
No.
have a 19th century one in red wool with a really nice bow at the neck. I think it
Oh,
should have
that
a
sounds
bow.
lovely.
I think
Oh,
that's
God, it has to have
important.
a bow.
Yeah.
That's
Mm.
like the minimum it has to
Yeah.
have. Oh, that's very nice.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about one being warm and woolly. I just thought fancy.
Mm. And
Surprisingly for me, because
yeah.
that was where I went.
And what's going
Oh,
on with
yeah.
you?
Well, talking of warming garments, I'm having a sweater crisis.
Oh no.
Yes. So earlier this week, someone who will not be named, but it wasn't me and it wasn't Coda,
Okay.
washed one of my sweaters in with a normal
Oh.
wash.
Oh no.
And
Is it
it
very
was like a big
small?
one. Oh, it's wrecked. It looks really quite comical because it was like a big oversized one that was like kind of a pleasing mushroomy pink color, the main bit, and
Mm.
then navy blue sleeves and very chunky.
Mm.
And now it is a cropped, immensely long sweater. I don't know what or who could wear it.
Interesting. It must be some sort of
Interest.
mixed fiber thing going on, I
Well, it's
wonder.
cotton,
Oh, how odd.
but it's like shrunk upwards
Mm.
and then just immensely long. So probably Adrian Kojanari, I could all wear it at once
Yeah.
and look ridiculous. So
Oh.
that was my first sweater disaster.
Are there
My
more?
second one, yeah, my second. Oh, there's two. There's two. My new, I've only had it since I don't know Christmas. No, I got it in the autumn. Eve Klein blue cashmere sweater.
Mm.
I caught it as I went out the door, and it's ripped a little hole at the back.
Well, I guess that could be solved. You
Well,
could.
I'm thinking there's a
There's
place, yeah, an invisible
invisible
menders.
mending, exactly. I mean,
Exactly.
you could go for visible mending, but it doesn't work for everything.
Well, it's a, as I say, Eve Klein Blue. Want to stress that because that was what really drew me to it, and it's cable, so it's kind of preppy, but
Mm.
it's something else too, and it's got a slightly longer back, and it's at the back. So I think if I just suddenly had
A pink,
a
yeah.
pink, well, obviously pink, it would have to be
Mm.
a pink down there. It's kind of in a weird place.
Yeah. Yeah, I
It
try.
would look like a mistake.
I've never had anything invisibly mended.
I've
Have
had
you?
two things,
Ah.
three things. I've got this beautiful. Do you remember? It's from years ago. This really lovely striped, like broad striped Clemence Ribeiro cashmere V-neck with short
Oh
sleeves,
yes. Mm.
with sequins, like with flat sequins in the pale grey, and that got a hole in it, and they did that beautifully. And then I've got a bottle green cashmere. They did that beautifully. And Adrian had a jacket, just a bit on the sleeve
Mm-hmm.
done. It was all very lovely.
Wow, I need to ask
I
you
have
next
faith
time.
in them.
Yeah, they sound very good.
They're very, very good. And so, yes, that one at least can be
Yeah, the other
saved.
one, there's
The
nothing
other
you
one,
can do.
the other one, unless I find a very short, very broad person, and even then, I don't think it's going to flatter them.
No.
It's really gone. And then I thought, well, maybe Coda can have it in his bed.
Oh, yes.
But then it's quite open weave, so I thought he'd get his toes caught in it.
Oh.
Because he does, like, if I ever lay a jumper on the bed or anything, he immediately sits on it. So he would quite like one of my sweaters, but not that one. So, but I'm paranoid because things happen in threes. So what if another one's going to have a disaster?
I think they don't always happen in threes.
Okay.
I think
I'll
you're
take
safe.
your word for it.
Yeah.
Because, today was one of my special wash all my special fabrics wash days.
I don't really have
And
the
I was thinking,
patience
oh
for
my
that kind of
goodness.
thing.
Well, you know how paranoid I am about my cash
Yes, I do know.
collection and how precious it is to me.
Yes.
So these things have to happen.
No, I'm all for looking after your clothes.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, I have far too many cashmere sweaters to be polite, really. But some of them I've had for like 20 years, so I feel that's okay
that's
because
very
I wear
good.
them
Yeah,
and wear
no.
them and wear them. Like they never get thrown out. They get made into Coda's bed or whatever.
Speaking
so
of
they last forever.
many
Pardon?
clothes, speaking of many clothes,
Oh yes, many clothes.
I was in Liverpool yesterday.
I've never even been there. Tell me.
So I went with my friend Danielle, who is the curator of the Westminster Menswear Archive.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So we decided, we were going to have a look at this exhibition. It's called Mrs. Tinne's Wardrobe. Actually, that's what the book is called. So it was at the Walker Art Gallery, and it's this woman who lived from 1886 to 1966. And
oh, what an interesting period to live through.
Yeah. Oh, it's actually called an English lady's wardrobe. And when she died, they found, I think, 700 items, or maybe the museum in the end took 700 items of clothing. So they didn't even take everything. Yeah. And her clothes were displayed before, and there's a really good book which have sort of slightly changed, but it's basically still the same. But it's really, really brilliant.
Well,
but I hadn't seen the exhibition.
I feel that was an exhibition that was on a list that I never made it to.
Yeah. So I don't know when it was first. I think they gave a lot of clothes when she first died, and then they gave a few. One of the daughters had some more, so they've sort of been given things in. What's the word, in phases. And they've never, I think they've never displayed everything, but so they've displayed this time again a selection, because I hadn't seen the other one, and I find this one person's wardrobe so interesting.
Oh, I love ones like that.
I wanted to go. It was really, really interesting. There were 3 rooms, and in the first one there was a sort of bit of a background to her. And she was a missionary's daughter, and she was born in Calcutta actually, but she was sent to England quite early on when she was quite small, and then she lived with her aunt in Edinburgh and went to school in Sevenoaks, I think, and then she went to learn what was it called, domestic science. Yeah, she became a domestic science teacher, and then she moved to Liverpool because an uncle was moving there. And there she must have met her future husband, who was a GP, and this is Mr. Tinne. And he was a GP, but he came from this super wealthy family, originally Dutch, and they were sugar merchants.
Oh my word!
So she had more money than a GP's wife probably normally would have had. And the clothes they have from her are from between 1910 and 1939. And they don't quite know why nothing before 1910. This is when she marries, 1910.
I see. No, because that's quite a chunk of her life. And so it's so kind of I don't know, she's such a woman of the Empire period as well.
Yeah, totally. And of her family, the Tinnies, they were also partly slave merchants in the early period. So, or at least they used enslaved Africans for workers, but I think they also traded. So there's quite a lot of, yeah, a lot of things sort of bound up in
Yes.
in this. And there was, so the first room, which was interesting, also you saying something about maids earlier. So the first room was a bit about her, and it was quite interesting. They had a granddaughter of her. They had a film of a granddaughter talking about her granny, and I think
wow.
she died when this granddaughter was sort of 6 or 10 or something, 10 maybe, I think. And she said in later years she was always quite, she didn't have that many clothes. She was quite severely dressed. She was generally quite a severe, strict woman, and you could see that in photos. She doesn't really smile very much.
Okay.
And no one knew that she had all these things in tea chests. So I think,
how funny.
yeah, when she died, it took 3 years to sort out all her stuff, apparently.
Oh my God.
So that was interesting. Something changed during the Second World War by the sounds of it. And then, yeah. And her husband
What
died
do you
in...
mean something changed?
Well, that they don't have clothes after 39, so maybe she just didn't buy that many anymore.
Maybe.
Because before, so what they say in the catalogue and also in the exhibition is that she sort of went shopping almost every day. So that was one of the things she did.
You mean like clothes shopping every day?
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
because I was going to say, well, you had to go shopping every day for food in the olden days.
Yes.
But for clothes, not so much.
Yeah, apparently, yeah.
How did she manage that?
Yeah, I guess she didn't always buy things, I guess, and maybe she didn't always buy an outfit. So the first room,
just socks one day.
Yeah, possibly. Just to quickly say what the exhibition, the structure. So the first room was about the family. There were quite a lot of children's clothes. She had 6 children. So when she married, in the next, I think it was over 20 years, she had these sort of 6 children. And there was a little bit about their servants. So they always had nursery maids and another servants, but hardly any clothes of those have survived.
Right.
And then they also were big letter writers. And of course, the 2 boys in the family were sent to boarding school, so there was a lot of letters going backwards and forwards. So the first room was about that. And then the next 2 rooms were about her clothes, and they were mainly grouped into evening outerwear, accessories, that kind of thing.
Right.
So they were not really chronological. They were sort of more grouped into themes. And then the last room was quite a lot about the different department stores and shops in Liverpool, and how there was a hierarchy between the shops.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, that was really, really interesting. It's also very interesting it's sort of mirrored in how the catalogue or book is set up. And there were a few things I particularly thought were interesting. Some of the objects, she had these most beautiful, I love bathing shoes anyway.
Oh my God, so do I.
And she had these most beautiful I didn't never know how you say them,
espadrilles.
Yeah, and they were sort of off-white canvas, and they were embroidered, I think, with an anchor in sort of red wool, and they had...
Oh my goodness.
And they were a bit higher at the back, which I'm not sure I've seen that before. And
they're usually flat.
Yeah, they were a little bit higher at the back, and they had leather sort of crisscrossy straps.
So were they for actually going in the water in?
No, I think like bathing shoes, I think are actually for being on the beach.
Okay.
I always thought, but I'm not quite sure actually.
No,
now
there
that
are
you
ones
say
which
that.
are for going in the water.
Yeah, I just thought they were for being, and I think they dated them 1910.
Sunbathing.
Yeah, for just being on the beach. And I guess if you're on a pebbled beach, for instance,
yeah, you need it.
You'd need some shoes. So they were beautiful. They also had something that I'd never seen before, which was like from the 20s. Like if you have an embroidered evening gown, it was a panel of it. So like the 18th century waistcoats, you can
Oh yes.
And it was the same principle. So
So like the bodice.
yeah, it was the entire front in that a particular car.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was a off-white, and I send you a picture. It's difficult to
Mm.
describe, but they'd mounted it on a board, but it was just a flat piece of fabric, but you could see it was a dress because it was embroidered so that the embroidery made a low waistline.
Ah.
And
Wow.
yeah, I didn't know you could get them like that, and
No, I didn't.
I wonder whether they came from France or in that
Oh.
way, because she didn't buy in France or anything like that. She always bought at these different places in Liverpool, who sometimes, of course, had things from France.
Mm.
Um, so that was really interesting. And in the catalogue, they mention a few panels that sound a bit like that, which I think came to the
That's
museum
fascinating. I
recently.
want to know about that.
Yeah, I thought that was really fascinating. And then the other thing that really, she has beautiful accessories, shoes not so much, but
Mm.
particularly very nice hats, very nice costume jewelry involving quite a lot of plastic,
Oh,
which I thought was interesting.
well,
Um,
it is interesting because it sounds like she had enough money. I wonder if she had real jewels too, but they haven't gone to the museum.
yeah, maybe. The jewelry that did show, there were a few pieces that had sort of flowers made out of plastic, and there was one that was quite sort of Tutank. I can never say that either. Tutankhamun.
Tutankhamun.
Yeah, and yeah, sort of mixture of diamante and plastic, and really quite interesting mixture
Yeah.
of different sort of materials. And very nice sort of evening bags as well. But then the other thing that really struck both of us was
Mm.
there were quite a lot of things that she never seems to have worn.
Oh.
So there was one section which had just like 6 or 7 fur coats from the 20s, and one of them in particular was said that she probably never wore it. And I
But then
think,
if she shopped every day,
yeah. So I thought, and apparently there were some things that weren't on display, but in the catalogs it says there were some things she shopped in different colorways, and some things weren't ever taken out of their packaging.
oh my
Um, and then, so there was in the catalogue, Pauline Rushton, she's the curator, and she also wrote the catalogue. She sort of
goodness.
speculates whether that she was satisfying some emotional need or whatever with her
Yeah.
shopping. But she also says maybe she just liked shopping, and it doesn't.
Yes.
So, and then similarly, there was one evening dress. She had a lot of evening gowns, and there was
Because
one.
I wanted to ask, is there a sort of I wonder what event she was going to.
That's a really good point, because one of the evening outfits, which was displayed quite dramatically, was a dark. She had a lot of black as well. Evening, almost all her evening stuff was black actually, and apparently one of her daughters said she had to wear black once for morning, and then she liked it so much that she
Oh,
continued wearing
interesting.
it. But this was an evening gown with bell sleeves, and they had it on a mannequin with outstretched arms, so you could really see the bell sleeves, and
Lovely.
they were sort of black velvet. Velvet was another thing she liked. And the bell sleeves were white inside, or dark pale pink. Yeah,
Oh,
really, really nice. But again, they said she didn't wear that one, and I think with that one they suggested they didn't know what sort of occasion she would have worn it to.
I mean, the sort of up, I guess probably into the seventh, well, even longer than that. The sort of dinner dances. There were lots of those that middle class and upper middle class ladies went to, weren't there?
Yes,
With
and
their
they
husbands.
exactly. They were
We've
wondering.
got lots of photographs of my mum and dad, like in the 50s, at dinner
Oh,
dances.
really?
Mm.
They also were wondering whether they dressed for dinner, the family.
Oh yes,
Um,
of course.
Maybe not always. They were in a very big
Mm.
house in a sort of suburb of Liverpool, and
Mm.
they had definitely had a cook. So there might have been that. So there was quite a few things she didn't wear, and there was in particular a 1930s evening gown, and it was sort of very typical bias cut black. I thought it was satin, but in the catalogue it says it's crepe, and it's got a little belt with a diamante
Lovely.
buckle, and then it has these. They're almost like sort of floating scarf type things that hang from the shoulder. And again, they are faced with a lighter fabric. And it was not, it's the kind of thing you could imagine Jean Harlow wearing, but it wasn't. It was much bigger than Jean Harlow was, so not much bigger. It wasn't really a big size, but it was sort of like size maybe 16 or something. It would have been now, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. And then it said again that she couldn't have worn it. It was actually too small for the size she wore at that point, and also too long. And I thought that was so interesting that she must have bought stuff for this idealized person, or for for a life maybe, and for an idealized self that she wasn't. So I'm speculating, of course, I don't know.
Yeah, no, but it's interesting. It's very interesting, because it is as though she had, because from what you say, from the photographs and from her granddaughter's account, she wasn't that person, but maybe she was. Maybe, it would be really fascinating to see her earlier clothes, because is this a sort of like that she's aging and getting larger as she ages potentially, and thinking back to her youth? Do you know what I mean? Of like still buying things for a younger version of herself. Is it, as you say, that she's like got an ideal that she'll become this thing, or just she wants to wear it in her bedroom and look in the mirror? It would be really good to see before and after this period to kind of work out.
They did have some photos. So when and the earliest pieces, they did have a few of these early pieces, and she was tiny. I mean, she was, when she in 1910, she was very, very tiny. And then she has a lot of stuff made by dressmakers, and she had a lot of paper patterns as well, and they are in the language of the time. I'm just flicking through the catalogue. I think they call them outsize pattern,
right?
Or pattern.
But then she had 6 children.
Yeah, well. Exactly, of course. So
so some of the time she'd have been having clothes for pregnancy, post-pregnancy bodies.
That's true, and they actually do have some actual pregnancy, maternity. And pregnancy sort of pieces there, which is great, because you don't see them so much.
No, you don't. What were they like?
They have a corset, a maternity corset.
Oh my goodness, can you imagine?
Yeah, so that
I can't really
actually
imagine how, like, the thought of a pregnant tummy and a corset. I mean, obviously they'd be softer, but I don't even know how you would get one round.
Yeah, although
they from the shape of women's tummies, because they're all different shapes.
That's true, but these ones, well, two things. The one they had there had lacing on the side, so you had quite a lot of areas where you could have adjusted it.
Right.
And then I obviously have no clue about these things, but I do know of people who wear something for support.
Yeah, that
even
makes
now,
sense.
So in a way it might not have been totally unpleasant. I don't know.
I hope not for all the pregnant women, pre whatever date it would be.
And then they had I think it was like a long sort of hip length blouse type thing, which had quite a lot of fullness from the shoulders down.
Yeah.
So, and they said that would have been a pregnancy blouse.
And I've lost track from your chronology. When does she become a teacher?
So she's born in 1986, and then she goes to Liverpool in 1906 when she's 20, and I think she's already been trained and worked as a teacher before
so
that.
So do you get a sense of her workwear, of her sort of what
No, because she trains and works before she marries, and they only have things from when she marries, and they suggest that maybe because she was a missionary daughter, and I don't know how much money she had before she marries. I don't think she was she wasn't super wealthy. I don't think she was poor either, but maybe there was a thing of not buying that much. Maybe that wasn't something they did in her family. I don't know. Yeah. So the clothes predominantly are from when she gets married.
I see. She gave up work then.
It's that, yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, I think most women sort of had to.
And she has, I think, the first child quite quickly. Yeah, I think after a year, and then she has children until the end of the 20s.
Wow, so her body must have been changing enormously
Yeah.
over that whole period and beyond.
Yeah.
So she may have been thinking, I'm buying this dress for when I don't have baby weight.
Maybe, and she would have stopped. That evening dress I mentioned was from the 30s. So,
Okay, yes.
So she wouldn't have had, well, I don't know whether she knew that it had stopped at that point, but she didn't have any more children after, I think, 29 or so.
And it sounds very fascinating. I really, really like ones. I really like exhibitions of wardrobes when it's just fascinating, like you're saying, she liked velvet. And I love things like that where you get to understand how an individual is thinking about their clothes and relating to their clothes and favouring particular things over other things and kind of cutting through fashion magazine fashion.
Yes. And some of these things were explained in the labels, but a lot of the time it was quite obvious. The velvet thing was quite obvious.
Yes.
The black thing was quite obvious. Yeah, there was a lot of embroidery, but I guess there were a lot of 20s evening dresses, so that's sort of what you expect.
Yeah.
But there were also, what I did like was there were sort of plainer day dresses. In the catalogue they mentioned what she didn't have, or at least it didn't survive. I did wonder whether she wore them out, was sort of suits.
Yes.
It was but maybe that wasn't something she liked, I don't know.
But also I suppose it's what she kept.
Yes.
Because if she was shopping a lot, even if a lot was left, she may have been editing.
Yeah.
And keeping things she just liked as things.
Yeah. It's also interesting that, not during the war, you would think maybe they would have had to, reuse things, and maybe they did, and she had even more. But yeah, like the granddaughter said, in her later years, she didn't seem to have continued to do, to get that many things.
When you started telling me about this, I was thinking, oh wow, imagine their dressing up box, because I know when I was little,
yes,
I had things from my granny and things from my mum, and it was just this wonderful kind of mishmash of things from different periods and different people, but clearly that was not going on.
No, it doesn't sound like it. They were all found in tea chests. It does also include, the exhibition also includes underwear, which is nice. So combinations and as I already said, a lot of camisoles, brassieres.
Wow.
So it really is quite, really the entire thing.
It sounds so interesting.
Yeah, it's really good. It's unfortunately just only on for another week, but
that's a shame.
Yeah, they did mention that, over the last few years they've shown bits and pieces, and I'm sure that will continue. And as I said, the catalogue has masses of photos in it.
I must get it.
And it's got, I think, the entire inventory of absolutely everything in the back, which is so super useful. It's really, really
it must
great.
Oh, I'll have to get it for the Courtauld Library.
Yeah, it's really good.
Oh, well, that sounds very good.
Yeah, no, it was fun. Yeah, it was really good thing to see.
I'm going to stop moaning about my sweaters now.
Yeah.
And just be thankful for having some.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and you can start maybe packing some things in tea chests. I don't know. Should one do that?
No,
I don't think I will.
Things.
No, true.
And also, I mean, not that I have a child, but maybe Coda would like to start dressing up. But I do think all children should be given dressing up boxes.
Yeah.
I think that's a really important thing that you just have. When I was little, I would come home from school, and I mean, my mum had a lot of trouble keeping me in my clothes at that age, and I would just take all my clothes off and just run to the dressing up box and immediately start adorning myself with scarves and who knows what.
Yeah, I never had that.
That's where the rot all started.
Yeah. I had a friend who had one, but we didn't really have that at home.
Mine was like in the hall. It's like a big hall, and so I could come in, run, take off my clothes as I was coming in, run straight to the dressing up box, and then until dinner time would be creating different outfits out of what was in there, swanning around, doing parades down the staircase. There was a good little platform I could on the staircase that I could parade around. This is on my own. This is in my own, mad realm that I probably still have.
Yeah.
So I very much support the thing of having a dressing up box
No, me
because it is
too.
such an important thing for me.
Yeah.
So yes.
Would be nice to have one now.
I know. Maybe we should just get them. I mean, who cares what other people think?
Yeah.
We'll just
Okay.
start a dressing up box. Yes, let's do it.
Okay. Well,
That's our new project.
takeaway. Yeah.
Exactly. All right.
Okay.
I'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye. Bye.